Following a proposal made by President Donald Trump, the parties involved temporarily halted attacks on critical infrastructure, particularly Ukraine's power and energy facilities, for a period of 1 week. During this time, there were no large-scale missile or drone strikes targeting Ukraine's electricity grid. At least on the infrastructure front, the battlefield entered an unusually quiet phase. However, in modern warfare, silence rarely signals peace. More often, it indicates preparation, and a 1 week pause is usually not meant to end a conflict, but to set the stage for what comes next. What did the 1 week pause really mean? First, it is important to clarify that this pause was not a comprehensive ceasefire. It did not alter the overall state of war, nor did it include any long-term commitments from either side. Instead, it was a limited, tactical pause, restricted in both time and scope. Such pauses have appeared repeatedly in past conflicts, and in most cases, they serve as opportunities to regroup, reassess damage, and plan the next phase of operations. What did Ukraine do during the pause? For Ukraine, the top priority during this rare period of relative calm was repairing and reinforcing its power infrastructure. Maintenance and emergency repair teams gained valuable time to replace severely damaged components, reinforce key electrical substations, establish backup power routes, improve rapid recovery capabilities in case of renewed attacks. That said, 1 week is far too short to fundamentally restructure a national power grid. What Ukraine could realistically achieve was emergency stabilization and partial reinforcement, not the elimination of deeper structural vulnerabilities. What was Russia doing during this quiet period? From a military standpoint, it is highly unlikely that Russia remained idle during the pause. On the contrary, this window likely provided an ideal opportunity to reassemble missile and drone stockpiles, assess the effectiveness of previous strikes, update target lists based on Ukraine's repair priorities, adjust attack methods to counter air defense systems. More importantly, Russia was able to observe which facilities Ukraine rushed to repair first, information that can be critical for identifying the most vulnerable points in future strikes. Why is the regrouping phase so significant? In infrastructure warfare, follow-up strikes are often more dangerous than initial attacks. This is because the system has already been weakened. Repair resources are increasingly strained. Key nodes have been clearly identified. Air defenses are stretched across multiple regions. If attacks resume after a week of preparation, they may become more precise, more concentrated, and potentially more damaging over the long term. The political dimension. What did the pause achieve? Politically, the 1 week pause helped ease immediate humanitarian pressure and temporarily reduce diplomatic tension. It also lowered the risk of uncontrolled escalation at a sensitive moment. However, once the pause expired, the fundamental drivers of the conflict remained unchanged. As a result, the political impact of the pause was inherently temporary and difficult to sustain. What could happen after both sides regroup? As forces complete their reorganization, 3 main scenarios become possible. First, Russia could resume infrastructure strikes at a similar intensity, maintaining continuous pressure. Second, the attacks could be refined, targeting recently repaired facilities or backup systems in order to undermine Ukraine's recovery capacity. Third, infrastructure strikes could be combined with broader military operations, applying pressure simultaneously on frontline positions and the civilian rear. In all 3 scenarios, power and energy infrastructure remain central targets. Overall assessment. The 1 week pause did not change the nature of the war, but it marked a transition into a new phase. This is a phase where strikes are likely to be more calculated, and where cumulative damage to infrastructure becomes increasingly significant. The war in Ukraine is steadily evolving into a contest of endurance, in which infrastructure resilience is just as critical as battlefield defenses. In modern warfare, brief silence often precedes renewed intensity. The 1 week pause has ended, forces have regrouped, and the key question is no longer whether attacks will return, but how severe they will be and what form they will take.